to post for my story.
Do whatever you feel. Your world is my world. It's all good. No problem. I'm sorry.
To
Okay.
post for
Mhm.
my story.
Do whatever you feel. Okay, awesome. All
Oh,
right. So, students, I am super excited today because one of the joys I get for wearing so many hats is that I can pull people in my circle to get to know them. So I want to welcome the amazing, beautiful model, Joanna James. She is Jamaican and Nigerian, and she actually started modeling her freshman year in college. So, Joanna, thank you so much for being on Model Talk Tuesdays.
thank you so much for having me, Pearl. And I just want to say I admire and appreciate what you're doing for the community, and it's just so admirable. And I hope that the girls they take a lot from what I say, and that it's able to elevate them or push them or motivate them or whatever it may be. But I hope that they take something from it at the end of the day.
Okay. No, that's beautiful that you're starting off with that. So you all, just so you all can get a framework of how Joanna came across my sphere, is I was watching. So there's this other goddess. I'm gonna call them the young goddesses. Her name is Albina. I met her on South Beach, doing something with a pearl company. And I was following her, and then I saw this beautiful young lady. And I'm like, who is this with all of this energy? And it was Joanna James. And literally the next day, Joanna, I met you at Little Hades, party. And I said, this has to
Yeah,
be, isn't
it's
this
fate.
something? Yes, it
It has
has
to
to
be
be
fate.
awesome. Yes, it has to be fate. Okay.
You
So
you
let's,
know, just speaking of that, like just to piggyback off of that, like when you're in school and like you find or you see somebody that you've never seen before, but then after you've seen them, then you start seeing them every single place. Then you start like I feel like that's what it was. It's just like you manifested it in a way. And I'm just so grateful that God allowed us to bump paths because I know that it's only up from here.
yes, 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 it is. Absolutely. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with some of these questions. So, let's just start with this. How did you get started in the modeling industry, Joanna?
So, funny story. When I was growing up, I never really had the confidence. I was long, lengthy, awkwardly tall, and people would always tell me, "Oh, you should model." And I'm like, "Me?" I felt like an ugly duckling. I didn't really feel comfortable in my skin. So it wasn't until my freshman year of college, there was an organization in my school called Fashion Forward. Shout out to them, but they were basically a modeling organization on campus that taught you runway. I did photo shoots. And my friend was telling me, like, let's go. Like, they're having auditions. And I'm like, why would I do that? Because I wasn't comfortable with putting myself out there yet. Like I said, I didn't have the confidence. But one thing I did is I faked it till I made it because probably would not be able to tell when I stepped on stage and when I went there and I auditioned that was my first time ever walking in front of an audience. But the confidence that I gave, it was like I've been here before, honey. Like it was radiating, and that's what they were telling me. They're like, we didn't choose you because you didn't know the steps or like you fumbled. It was because of the confidence, the way you carried yourself. That is something that they could work with, and the rest is history. Ever since then, I actually was in the organization my entire 4 years. That's kind of how I made my name on campus. People will come up to me like, "Wait, I saw you in the fashion show. Like, oh my gosh, you did amazing, girl." I'm like, "Wait." The confidence was just growing and growing after that. So I'm very, very grateful for Fashion Forward and how it started to just how it started to grow my journey and elevate me.
Mhm. So let's talk about beforehand, because I think one of the things that we have in common is I was shy before modeling as well. But
Mhm.
what took us to that place of maybe thinking we were an ugly duckling, or you get what I'm saying? So, what was it in your world that you didn't have that confidence that you felt beautiful?
Ooh, child, you're gonna get emotional real quick.
Hmm.
But something that just kind of made me feel not confident was just because the lack of representation that I saw in the modeling industry. Like I didn't see people that looked like me when I turned on the TV. I didn't see people who looked like me walking the runway. So in my head, I didn't really think that it was possible. So I was darker than everybody else. I was taller than everybody else. No one was really checking for me like that. Like, growing up, it was just very rough for me to like growing into my skin. But God saw me, He saw something in me, and He was just like, don't let them dim your light because no matter what you go through in your past, you have to use it to elevate you and you have to use it to light your fire. So after I realized I didn't need everybody else's confirmation of my beauty, that I'm a child of God. I'm beautifully and wonderfully made. Nobody could take that away from me. Like beauty is surface level. I knew that internally I had it. So it just irradiated from the inward to outward. So I feel like that definitely helped me in my journey.
Yeah, you said a lot there. I'm gonna go ahead and let that marinate and move on to the
Let
next.
that marinate. Let that
Yes,
sizzle in your spirit, girl.
you said a lot. You said a lot in that from going from inward to outward, which I think is extremely important. So what has been the highlight of your shout out to Fashion Forward. I think that's what you said it's
Yes,
called because I
fashion
think it's
forward.
important for any young woman to kind of have that foundation or that sisterhood or that,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
build and grow. And that's something that we have here. So I'm thankful that you're giving your time to this. But what has been after Fashion Forward? What's next after that? They get your confidence up. So then what happens next?
As far as the modeling journey.
Yeah, and then what's been your biggest highlight since then? Because what has been your biggest highlight? But I'm curious to know after you do your college troop,
Mhm.
what happens next with the modeling industry with you?
So funny enough, I was like I said, I did it all throughout my 4 years. And I started becoming more confident, posting more on social media, which allowed people to actually reach out to me and find me and be like, oh, are you available to shoot? Are you available for this event? Are you available to work this? I was like, wait, I could actually get not just do it as a college thing or like a side thing or extracurricular activity, but I could actually get paid doing what I love. And I was like, wow, once I realized the power in that, I was like, this is amazing. I need to wait, is this me?
Yeah, of
This is my
course
I was
it
just like,
is.
I thought it was my laptop. I'm like, uh-oh, not my laptop going haywire. But like I said, I was able to model in fashion forward. After doing that, after graduating, I continued on modeling, and it progressed very, very quickly. And I'm grateful to God and all the blessings that He's bestowed upon me because every journey, everything that's happened in my journey was for a reason, and it's helped me one way or another, whether it's been positive or negative. And I think you said the biggest accomplishment. I would say the biggest accomplishment would be probably just I don't think it's very hard for me to put it into one box, but I think my greatest accomplishment is just our meeting, like putting myself out of my comfort zone and meeting all these like-minded individuals who, whether it's photographers, whether it's designers, whether it's other models, being able to network with them and build my brand. That's honestly one of the biggest accomplishments I feel like because building your own brand is so important. You have to understand your audience. You have to understand what the morals are when what you're trying to accomplish. So I feel like from me not knowing what I was gonna do, not even wanting to model, to becoming my own brand where people are reaching out to me to work and people are flying me out to different countries. I went to Jamaica a few years ago with one of these designers for the Paradise Challenge, and I met so many beautiful people, models, photographers, designers, and that just showed me that everybody's going on their own journey. You can't compare your journey to anybody else. You have to be content and appreciate everything that happens, no matter, like I said, if it's good or bad. Everything has a reason, and everything is gonna work out for your good, no matter what. So
Yeah, I do like that about your personality. You definitely have like a lot of the glasses half full energy. Um, so a couple of things, just because, we can get out there as models, and I know you said, and blessings to you that people started reaching out to you, just so
mhm.
that we can keep everything as transparent as possible. Like, what would be some good habits? Because I know sometimes you may want representation just so that they can vet the client. How have you been able to navigate that space of representing yourself, or are you currently represented in your growth as a model?
I would say I'm actually represented right now. I'm in BMG Models. I'm with an agency, but before then, even before I was represented, I had to learn how to hold my own in a way. You have to, at the end of the day, be your own representative. No matter if somebody is representing you, as soon as you step out into that door and you step out into the real world, you are you yourself. You're I don't know how to say it. You have to vouch for yourself. Like you have to be your own brand. You have to act as if it's already built. Everything is already built. Everything is already there. Don't just say, "Oh yeah, I have a little business." No, I am the business. I got a big business coming up. I've done I've done photo shoots for this designer. I've walked runways for this. You have to advocate for yourself. You can't just depend on anybody else just to do it. But in my experience, having representation does make it easier once you've reached that stage. Having representation allows for somebody else other than you to be like, this is the model, this is why I'm vouching for, but you still got to make sure that you got good comp cards. You still got to make sure that your portfolio is up to par. You still got to make sure that when you go to these casting calls, are you networking with the designers? Are you networking with the casting directors? The representation is not going to be there to hold your hand every single step of the way. So you have to make sure that you represent yourself as the brand that you want to portray.
Wow, you all that are just tuning in we're with the amazing Joanna James. She's dropping some gems here.
Hi
Welcome
guys.
to Model Talk Tuesdays. And the reason I'm saying she is dropping gems because I think that some people think when you get signed, the gates of heaven has opened and there's nothing for you to do but just sit there and look pretty, when what I like about Joanna's comment is that you are the focal point, you are the star, you are the one that needs to continue churning out that business, networking, as she's saying, showing up. So
Yeah,
representation has nothing to do with that. It has to do with your hustle and your grind and your vision and your focus. And I think sometimes models, entertainers may lose sight of, no, they're going to grind as hard as you are. You have to show up for yourself first. So I'm glad that you
exactly.
mentioned that.
Exactly. No one's gonna vouch for you like you're gonna vouch for you. Like you're at the end of the day, representation is representing the whole agency. They have other people that they have to worry about that are also on the roster. But you yourself have to make sure that you're doing everything that you're supposed to be doing as far as networking, as far as making, like I said, making sure that everything is on point when it comes to modeling. So that's big.
100. So I see a couple of you all. Please drop your names in the chat so that I can shout you out in this amazing interview. So, Joanna, how do you prepare for a photo shoot or a fashion show? How do you prepare for something like that? Any tips?
Hmm. Some tips I like to do. I always like to pray and to meditate or even to go to the gym. Like what I used to experience when I was first starting out, I would be very nervous. Like I just get butterflies, and I still do to this day. I get butterflies, but they're kind of more at ease the more that you work and the more that you're on the runway. But when I first started off, like I was just like I would be so nervous from excitement, of course. But working out helps me get my mind right, make sure that my body is right because when I look good, I feel good. When I get that little booty pump, I'm like, okay, you know what? Maybe I can work that runway. Maybe they got to see this. They have to know who I am. It gets your confidence going, and also making sure that you're eating right. Don't think that just because you're going to a show that you have to starve yourself. Make sure that you're having a well balanced meal either before the show or the night before. Make sure that you're eating well because I know when I'm hungry, I'm hangry. So I'll be like irritated, annoyed. I just won't be in my best mood. I have to be mentally, physically fulfilled. And working out, eating right, praying, meditating, to asking God just to take away all my jitters, just to use me as He wants me to be used. So that's
So
just some ways it helps.
this sounds like a spiritual journey. The way that you are asking to be used,
Of course, I always I grew up in the church, so I've always incorporated uh like my spirituality in modeling and whatever I do, just because if you don't have faith, like what can you have? If you don't have that relationship. And even if you're not really religious, even if you don't go to church, just meditating and making sure that you're internally that your mental and everything is right.
I love that you have to be in alignment with yourself, right? You have to be at peace with yourself as you're going on a
Exactly.
journey.
Know what your body needs. If
Hmm.
your stomach is growling, obviously you're not going to be in the best state of mind. Like if your stomach you growling and you over here like, ooh, what's going on? You got to make sure that everything is good, everything is set.
Okay. How do you handle criticism and rejection in such a competitive industry?
Ooh. Hmm. At the end of the day, I try not to take anything too personal because the modeling industry is a business. Whatever you're doing, there's gonna be people who are there to vet you and to make sure that you as a brand is going hand in hand with what they want. If you're going into an agency and they take one look at you and you just got your hair done, you just got that fresh brow wax, you're feeling your best. They take a look at you and they're like, you're just not the best fit for us. You might feel like breaking down and crying. And sometimes I've been there, but but at the end of the day, you have to realize that whatever is for you will never miss you. And if it misses you, then it was never meant for you.
Mhm.
So that's something that I've kind of had to come to the conclusion of, just to kind of make the blow a little easier. At the end of the day, it's not personal. They're not saying no to you because they think that you're ugly. They think that, you're hideous. No, that's not always the case, but it's the brand. It's what they're going for as a company and the business. This is something that they're looking for. And like I said, if it doesn't align with who you are or what you're doing, then go where you're appreciated. That's what I'm so big on. Go where you're appreciated and loved. Like don't try to force for the bare minimum. Don't try to push for the bare minimum. Always go where you're appreciated. Always go where people encourage you and people pour into you, not where you feel like you have it's like a push pull relationship. That's what I've hated that. I hated that. So I just take the critiques and I let it roll off my shoulder.
Well, that's a good space to be in. That's an awesome space to be in. Okay, so who are some of your inspirations, your role models? Because they're doing a great job, whoever they are.
Well, of course, I have to big up to my mom. My mom. She's raised me ever since I was a kid. Like, you think that I'm a lot now. When I was a kid, oh my gosh, I used to be outstanding. I was just going against the crowd. I was a lioness, I was a baby lioness. Like, I was roaring in my own way. I was doing whatever made me happy, regardless of the consequences. So I feel like, thank God, thanks to my mom for allowing me as a kid to really channel that, because I feel like without that, you
Mhm.
know, without me going back to my inner child and feeling like I'm making her happy without sacrificing anything that sacrificing any thing that could be going wrong. But at the end of the day, I'm happy that she allowed me to be myself in my space and in my own right, because it just kind of blossomed from there. But another person who's always like inspired me, I know it's a little controversial. I love me some Tyra Banks. Listen, I used to grow up watching America's Next Top Model. I kid you not. Like, I would be in my house, like coming home from school, making sure that I was tuned in. Okay, tuned in. I was like, oh, she's going home. Okay, I knew it, because her poses was not eating like they she thought they were. No, I was just paying attention to that, like little things that she would say. I was just like, wow, like this is definitely something that I could see myself doing. And of course, I kind of manifested it in a way, because that's what I'm doing now. So I think Tyra Banks definitely allowed me to see that representation and see that it's possible, because she was a successful model back then as well, even to this day. But I feel like she definitely allowed me to see that it was okay to be comfortable in my skin as a Black woman in the modeling industry.
Shout out to Tyra Banks, the beauty and the beast, the beauty and the
Amen. The beauty of the beast. And also, I love Anak. Anak is
Yes,
she's just been killing it. Oh my
she
gosh.
has. She has.
Oh
She
my
has.
gosh, she's gorgeous. And the fact that she was discovered like randomly at a Howard homecoming, like that's why girls, you got to make sure that you're always ready. When you're ready, you don't have to get ready. Stay ready so you never have to get ready. Because honey, she
It's
got her
coming.
one picture took it and it blew up. And she's booked and busy.
And
Look
that's
at
just,
God.
I know, that's like a true life getting discovered story. You know how those stories aren't as popular as they, used to be.
They used to
That's a
be.
true
Yeah.
life getting discovered
Hmm.
story.
And I bet you she probably, maybe she did have modeling experience before then, but I bet you
Mhm.
she was actually pushing and pushing and pushing. And the fact is, you never really see the results until maybe years, months down the
Mhm.
line. And that's
Mhm.
just a testimony to you being consistent. Listen,
Mhm.
the consistency, whatever consistency that you have, it will outweigh work ethic. It will outweigh, doing stuff
Mhm.
like all. It's
Mhm.
like, when I tell you, as long as you're consistent,
Mhm.
if you don't feel like doing it, still do it. If you feel like nobody's gonna be paying attention to you, still do it. If you feel like, oh man, I only got 300 views, 300 likes on my post, like, still do it, because it only takes that one photo or that one video or that one reel for someone to be like, wow, I didn't know that she was doing this. But honey, you were already doing it. It was already, they only seeing the like one result. You've been doing it. So you just got to make sure that consistency is key. Keep on pushing and keep on thriving. Okay, keep
I know
on doing
that's
that,
right.
girl.
I know that's right. Do what you love. Let me go ahead and throw my 2 cents in there. Do what
No,
you
say what I
love.
definitely want to hear what you say too. Do what you love.
Yes. Oh, Brittany, thank you for chiming in. I see you. You're saying you love it. I'm loving it too. Like she's, just reinforcing, all of these beautiful gems. So, you kind of gave me a little bit before, but we have two more questions. What advice would you give to an aspiring model looking to break into the industry?
Hmm. Yeah, I kind of touched on a lot of different things,
Mm-hmm.
but some advice that I would give to somebody who's aspiring is just be yourself. Don't try to compare yourself to anybody else. I'm gonna tell you guys right now. Comparison is the thief of joy. Like I promise you, if you're worried about what X, Y, and Z are doing, you can never fully plan and fully invest in yourself. Don't compare your journey to somebody else because God has something special planned for you. Don't look
Yeah.
at whatever they're doing because, like I said, they could have been hustling from years and months prior, and you're just seeing the blossoming buds that are just now blooming. But you don't see the roots that are deep and deeply embedded in the soil. Don't compare yourself and your journey to other people because at the end of the day, what God has for you is meant for you. At the end of the day, don't compare yourself to anybody else's journey because don't be like, oh God, why? How come they're getting booked? How come, everybody's noticing them? How come they're going viral? God has His time for you. It's just not right now. What you just gotta, like I said, be consistent, keep on pushing, keep on believing in yourself. That's number one. Number one, believe in yourself, even if no one else believes in you. Even if somebody is like, girl, you still doing that little modeling thing? You still doing that? Yes, and I am. And it's a big modeling to you. Thank you very much. But like I said, advocate for yourself, believe in yourself, pour into yourself, meditate, talk to God about it, talk to any family members or friends who are also encouraging you and supporting you at the end of the day because your journey is your journey. No one can take that from you.
No, wonderful words of wisdom from Joanna James, like having a personal relationship with yourself. Because I'm seeing her laughing because people will criticize you. It's to the point where it's funny because I'm a very sensitive soul. So when people would criticize me, I would like, especially like my family, sometimes, what happens from that perspective. And you're just like, you got to build some tough skin, have a relationship with yourself, know what you want, because at the end of the day, you have to answer to yourself, as you're going
Yeah,
on this path
exactly.
of manifestation. We all have a
Mhm.
design within us and we're here to manifest. So, speaking of here to manifest, we can close out with this. And, some people like this question, some people don't because they don't want to predict the future. But how do you see yourself evolving in this modeling space? Do you see yourself, I don't know, I'm just throwing it out, going into acting? Again, you just have this beautiful spirit about you. Do you see yourself going into motivational speaking? Like where is she going? What is she evolving to?
That's a good question. I feel like I'm going wherever God takes me. I don't like to put a cap on myself because it's like I could do whatever I put my mind to, and I just have to believe that because I'm like a chameleon, You place me somewhere, I'll adapt and I'll learn and I'll grow. But something that I've always wanted to do, like I've always wanted to get into acting. And you're giving me some ideas with the motivational speaking, girl, because I'm like, am I really? 'Cause I'm just speaking from the heart. I didn't even know if it's touching anybody's spirit, and I hope it is, girls. I hope that you're learning something from this. But I definitely like to encourage people because especially when you went through it and you understand that journey of growth, you want to encourage other girls and encourage other young ladies, pour into them because I didn't really have that growing up. And it's just like that could somebody telling you that you could do it can literally wash over your brain and transform it. You're like, wow, I didn't even know that I had it in me. That gives me the power, that gives me the strength. And that's literally that's all I could ask for. I definitely wanted to get into like teaching other models and other individuals because people always ask me like, oh, are you doing any classes? Are you doing anything? I'm like, I don't know if I should. But the thing is that God usually does that. Like He won't give them the person who wants the power. He won't actually he won't actually what is it? It's like, when you go into like a I'm trying to explain it. When you go into a battlefield, the person who wants to become king, they desire it, they want it. They'll kill anybody for it. Like God doesn't want that person to be the king. God wants to use the timid person, the person who might not have all the faith and the confidence, but they want the best and the best for the people around them. That's who God wants to use. And I feel like that might be what my predicament is kind of showing. It's like I might not in this time and space be like so enthusiastic and yes, I want to do it. But I feel like God is gonna be like, you know what, this is your calling. And even though you're scared or you're anxious, this is what you're called to do. And that's just life in general, you know. You always have to, might be scary at first, but you always have to have the faith and believe in God's bigger purpose.
Well, on that note, you all, we want to thank you for tuning in to another edition of Model Talk Tuesdays. I love how she ended believing in God's purpose for you, listening to that voice, that intuition, trusting in it. Joanna, if we want to follow you, follow your journey, how can we go about doing that?
You can follow me on Joanna.James on all my platforms right now, Instagram, TikTok. I might be setting up my YouTube. I have one video on right now. Like I do a lot of makeup, I do a lot of travel. I'm very well rounded. So like I said, I don't put myself in a box. I'm accepting of everything. And I'm grateful that like I said, I'm a chameleon. God made me like that. I'm able to be somewhere and adapt and grow and blossom. So I just hope that you guys and girls and whoever else is watching, I hope that you learn something from this and that you can hide something in your heart and just take a little piece of what I said onto your modeling journey. And follow me at Joanna.James. Again, follow me at Joanna.James, like LeBron.
All right, everyone, we will see you next week. All right.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much.